Hey there, commercial construction coffee talk fans. Thanks for chiming in. My name's David Corson. I'm your host. I'm also the publisher and editor of Commercial Construction and Renovation magazine. This is what it used to look like when we printed it. I'm pulling out some archives here. November, December 2014. Woohoo! Anyway, Rockbridge Capital, they're hoteliers and investors, et cetera, in that hospitality marketplace. And actually, John Cooper's on my board, and he's probably out there riding motorcycles. And anyway, let's see how big this one was. This one was how big was this one? This one was 146 pages. Yeehaw. Let's see where I was. Oh, I was in Philadelphia. It was right there on Broad Street at I think that was our women's retreat. Anyway, great group of people, and I'm from Philly, so it was good to get home. But I hadn't done the Independence tour in a long time, so we took everybody, and they saw Ben Franklin's grave and the Liberty Bell and all that, and it was an excellent weekend and really, really fun. Made my way down to Atlantic City to see my buds down in South Jersey, and came back up and then flew home the following day. But always nice to hold the magazine. But I don't miss the printer. I don't miss the post office. My last issue I printed was August of 2021 when I had White Castle, largest facility restaurant that they had built, and haven't looked back since. Had 4.8 million people hit the website last month, 308,000 unique users, and looking to go over 40 million hits interactions by the end of the year. So it's been an awesome year. And for all you out there on the web, thank you so much. I couldn't have done it without you. You're gold in my eyes. And, like I said, I really appreciate you finding me out there on the wild, wild web with 8 billion other people looking and surfing and consuming content and all that good stuff. So, kind of an overcast day here. Got to go up to my lake lot and see what's going on. They're finishing the hardy board and we're getting some stuff done on our inspection for next week. It's my big one: framing, electrical, HVAC, plumbing, windows, roof. It's the big one. But hopefully we'll get everything done that did my walkthrough last week and spending this week kind of getting things done. They're getting the hardy board finished up on the outside, and if everything goes well, we'll start doing some sheetrock next week, and it's all downhill from here. My wife's crew gets in there, and they're just going to kick tail. I'm looking at 60 to 90 days, and that house is going to be finished. And you all see it in the magazine. I've been doing updates in each issue with our new residential construction and remodeling column that we added, and just very, very exciting. So hopefully, listen, Mother Nature's got to cooperate with us, but the house is dry and we're ready to rock and roll. So, Mr. Inspector, whoever you are, be nice to me and give me that approval from the county so I can get going. Uh, but if not, it's okay. We'll go and do the little tweaks that they need, but everything looks really good. My consultant that I've been working on the project with, we walked through the house last week. He's like, "Man, this thing looks awesome." I mean, just little things, little metal plates where you want to guard the PVC plumbing pipes, and all the windows are filmed, a couple little flashing areas, and so. But all in all, excited to get this big one done. So hopefully everybody has made it through the election from last week and all that's done. Oh my God, I haven't gotten one text, one email, one piece of garbage mail in my mailbox from the last 4 years. It's been amazing. It's like a whole weight has been lifted off me because I'm in a swing state here in Georgia, so I had to go through 2020. 2022, the Senate race, and then the recount, and then another race. And it's just been perpetual. I feel like Groundhog Day here, with the election. It's just been going on and on and on. But thank God it's over. Chips have fallen. It's all done. And let the country move ahead. And I'm ready for the golden age. I'm psyched. Let it go. And just it's an exciting time to be alive. That's all I got to say. And looking to finish off the year strong with momentum. And before you know it, 2025 is going to be here. So hopefully you're all having a great week. I have a nice young lady. She's up in Rhode Island, and her name is Karen Fiorentino. She's the managing partner of K&R Solutions Group, correct? Did I get that right?
Correct. That is correct.
Yay! Karen, say hello to, where are you in Rhode Island?
I'm in Narragansett, Rhode Island.
Okay, and Providence, where is that in?
Providence is about 35 minutes north of us.
Okay, so you're just south of, you're like
Yep.
between Providence and Warwick and all that, right?
Yeah, not far from the airport,
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I'm a Yankee. I'm living in the South, but know it very well. Been up and down I-95 a million times, and
for sure.
yeah, absolutely. So, Karen, the way this is going to work, we're gonna do your episode in three parts. You're gonna tell us your story, where you grew up, where you went to school, if you went to school, brothers, sisters, played any sports, all that stuff, and how you ended up where you are today. Then we're going to talk about lessons learned from the last 4 years that we've all been on the roller coaster with. And even though we're kind of out of the tunnel, there's still some potholes and speed bumps that we're all going through. And any trends or any cool projects that you see that you've done or you see coming down the pike that our listeners out there in commercial construction coffee talk should know about. And then you'll leave one positive thought or phrase with our listeners. So with that, the floor is yours. Tell us your story.
Well, first, David, thank you for having me. And I'm thrilled that you didn't ask me to come on and talk about politics. So
Yeah. No,
I'm
no,
here to
no,
talk
no
about me,
politics.
and that's one of my favorite topics. So I
Yeah.
will,
Well, you
I'll
and I
jump
can
in.
talk offline anytime that you
Okay,
want. Okay.
for
But
sure. It might be a short conversation, but
yeah,
I'll start with a little bit about me. I was born and raised in Springfield, Massachusetts, which is in the western part of
Western.
Mass.
Yeah.
Yep. And if you're familiar with it at all, it's known pretty much for just two things, and that is the Basketball Hall of Fame, the Naismith Hall of Fame, and Dr. Seuss. So we kind of ride on that because there's really nothing else that's really too interesting about Springfield. But I had a wonderful childhood. Grew up in a two-parent household, very Catholic, Irish, Italian Catholic household. I am the youngest of five children. I have a brother and three sisters, all of whom are amazing. We were churchgoers. We spent a lot of time at our church and very involved in that. We went to public school up until we went to high school. So all of us went to Cathedral High School in Western Mass and participated in many extracurricular activities. Sports were a big thing in our family. I had a brother that played soccer. We were big swimmers in our family. I was a springboard diver. And then, like I said, a lot of extracurricular activities that I probably don't need to go into, but we enjoyed our childhood. Everyone went off to college to different areas of pretty much kind of northeast. Let's say that we didn't venture too far away from that. And I settled right after school. I went to the community college locally because I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. And so once I graduated there, I moved to Boston with one of my sisters and just got a job, a retail job, and took some courses actually at universities in the Boston area. And then somehow got distracted with meeting my husband and ended up leaving the Boston area and moving back to the western part of the state, closer to Northampton in a town called Southampton. And from there, gosh, I started my career shortly after that. I did finish school at Westfield State University, so I do have a 4-year degree as well. I got married. We moved to New York City, and I spent 5 years living in Midtown Manhattan. I worked for Coach Leatherwear, which at the time when I worked for Coach, it was owned by Sara Lee Corporation. So early 90s in New York City was a lot of fun. So I took that experience and really left Manhattan, heading back to Massachusetts, mostly because at that point I was ready to start a family, or at least we're putting that foundation down. We moved back to outside the Boston area. I took a job with an advertising agency called Bronner Schlossberg Humphrey and worked there for a couple of years to get some agency experience. And then I left and stayed home for 13 years. I have three
good for
children,
you.
amazing young adults that are doing very well. Luckily, all in the Northeast area still. Anyway, one in Philly, in your stomping grounds, David. And I guess I focused on that, and then once they started to get a little bit older, I kind of had a yearning for going back to work. So I think my youngest was in second grade, and I decided to go back to work. I went back for a company outside of Boston, did a 2-year stint with them. And then a girlfriend who went to a company outside of Chicago recruited me to come to that company. It was a trade show company, and they were building a retail division. And so given my background, I was recruited to go there and build a retail division for this very embedded trade show company. I spent 10 years at that company. And as part of building the retail division, a very robust transportation division, airports became very great for me. And so, like everybody else in the world, I was moving right along with my career, and exciting things happening at that time in the airport. And COVID hit.
Yeah.
So as soon as COVID hit, actually prior to that, just in one of the clients that I had been my client for quite a few years, had said, listen, in the airport world and transportation, they're really looking for a lot of women. We don't have a lot of women in aviation. They're encouraging the women and the minorities and the veterans to really partake in a lot of the projects that they were doing. So he said, you should get your certification. At the time, COVID hadn't hit yet. So that was in 2019. I said, you know what? I think I'll do that. I think I'll just sign up I named a company, and I registered it. And then sure enough, a year later, I had no choice but to launch K&R Solutions Group.
Mm-hmm.
So K&R Solutions Group is a women-owned print, project management, and installation group. Our production facilities are in Utah. When I left the former company that I worked for, the 2 project managers that supported my business also got furloughed, and I brought them on as partners. And so the K is Karen, the R is Rhett, and the and is Audrey. And we all came from the same company. We were managing the 2 largest media group out-of-home advertising in airports for 10 years. So we knew what we were doing, but we didn't know what we were getting into, right? It's a lot different when you kind of launch something on your own. And certainly I'm not sure who launches a company in COVID, but the more people you talk to, David, it may not be a brand new company, but people have just shifted and really had to turn around and figure out, okay, my magazine, for example, for you may not look like what it did, but what's it going to look like now, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So we took a lot of time once COVID hit, because of course the markets that we service, specifically our advertising and graphic signage in airports. So nobody was buying marketing in airports or producing new ads, and retail stores, and nobody was changing out the marketing in retail stores. So what the good part of that was, it gave us an opportunity, the 3 of us, an opportunity to really sit down and see what our strategic plan was going to be and how we were going to develop this. We knew we couldn't afford to buy all of the machinery and the print and so forth. So we aligned ourselves with strategic partners that allowed us to give this offering, and a great breadth of offering, from design all the way to installation and in signage and graphics, under one roof. And so, what's involved in that is to vet partners. So we took a lot of time to do that. And not only vetting partners, it was important for us as being a women-owned company. That was super important for us. But to really be able to have those conversations in the market that we wanted to focus on, we needed to be certified. And I'm going to throw some acronyms out for you. ACDB certification, DBE, which I'm sure you're very familiar with certification, WBE certification. It was important for us, if we were going to do women-owned, that we had all these certifications that made us a little bit more appealing, because in our world of airports, there is a requirement now, and I'm sure construction has it as well, where you bring these minority businesses in to help support the projects. And there's sometimes a mandate of a percentage to use an ACDB partner. And so we felt like that was going to give us an opportunity to kind of give us maybe not a leg up, but a way in.
No, it makes things fair.
Yeah, I mean, makes things fair and allows us as this new company, right, to get to the table. Like, hey, listen, we're new, but we also have all these, certifications. And when you go through the certification process, they go through everything to make sure that you are qualified. And so all of that was done so you can get a seat at the table. So we did that, and we thought that was super important. And then, the other pillar for us was sustainability, and having sustainable options in our toolbox, where we are using recycled aluminum in our light boxes and in our tension fabric displays. And most of the display work that we do in addition, providing graphic solutions that were kind to Mother Earth, right? We wanted to make sure that we worked with a lab that actually produced a biodegradable piece of fabric, and we were the first company to introduce that into out of home. And so our forte is printing on fabric, and we now have this biodegradable piece of fabric that we are printing on for airport advertising. And so in the airports, and I know that you travel, you take a look around, you see these advertisements, right? A lot of it, those change out 6 months, every 12 months. And what do they do with that product, right? A lot of times, traditionally, it goes into our landfills, right? And it really takes for any piece of regular polyester, between 40 and 60 years
Sure.
to biodegrade. And so this new product that we introduced, along with our science lab partner, takes 4 to 6 years. And so that was really important to us, the sustainable message here. And then for construction overall, we thought, okay, with all of the money that are going into airports and all the building happening in cities, what our small part is, what can we help with, and what is our conversation as far as being a sustainable company? And that was, a lot of the field walls that you guys do, or the fencing graphics that you're doing for privacy when you're building. Yes, there are sustainable alternatives, but they're very, very expensive. And so, unfortunately, we're not there yet, where people are like, yes, we're going to go more sustainable, even if it's 50% more. But what we have been able to develop is programs where we're able to take our graphics back, and we have a partner out in California, for example, the construction fencing graphics that we send back, and they repurpose them into new products. So you can get, a man's DAP kit, I don't know, a luggage tag, a tote bag, and that potentially could have been a sign that was hanging on the side of the road, or a sign that was fencing a new project for one of the larger construction groups. So we're really proud about where we came from, where we're going. We stuck to our guns on where we wanted to be, and we have not wavered much on that. We're very fortunate at this point in time that Pete Buttigieg has really funded our airports, all around the nation. I think you probably experienced this, where there's new terminals being built and renovations happening. So there's lots of funding that's going on in airports, and so we feel comfortable with where we decided to focus and where we are now. I think we have a lot still to learn, and there's a lot for us to still uncover. I would say probably one of the biggest challenges is, I think with any company, is trying to get people to change their vendors. I think when you support a vendor for so long, or have a relationship or a partnership with a vendor for so long, and it's working, why would you change, right? And so we want to give them the reason why they should change. We feel like we have a lot of reasons for that. We are a one-stop shop. We're women-owned. What's greater than supporting a small women-owned business? We're sustainable. We can help you design your work. You don't have to go to a large agency. We can be an extension to your team. So we feel like we have a lot to offer, but that is probably our biggest challenge, is getting people to say, let's give you an opportunity. Because really, there's a chance that it could go back on their desk, right? We didn't deliver in time. You're now getting charged back by, the person who paid for the advertising, because the graphics not up, or it didn't fit, or it's wrong, or, luckily we have not experienced that in our time as K&R, but it does happen in the industry. And so, when you have something that is a fine-oiled machine, it's tough to say, hey, listen, just give us a chance. So those are some of the challenges, but not unlike anybody else who faces those challenges, right? It's just how we can continue to overcome those challenges. We have a great team. This past year, we've added on 3 full-time employees. So there's 6 full-time employees, and we have actually 3 consultants now that work in different areas. One is a retail consultant, one is a aviation consultant, and one is a marketing consultant. So we are definitely setting ourselves up. We continue to set ourselves up to succeed. And we don't say yes to everything. We try and be a good partner. We try and meet with our potential clients and explain who we are and what we can do. And if we can't do it, we'll tell you. But we are excited about where we are, and we're looking forward to continuing on this trend.
Hey, listen, my son's in aviation. He went to FA mechanic school and has his A&P license, and so it grew up with airplanes, airports. I went to all the air shows, and but my on my mother's side, we've been in construction since 1888. We're in recycling, demolition. So we were doing recycling before sustainability was even a word.
Yeah,
So
which is great.
yeah. So, I mean, as a grandson, all the grandsons had to go into the scrapyard when you got your license at 16 in Philadelphia. So I had no choice. So I shoveled asbestos, I laid railroad tracks, I welded with the acetylene torch. You can build whatever. And, but all those things that I learned way back when, I, you know, believe it or not, I'm a builder. I built this
Yeah.
magazine. I used to do it paper ink and but now I do it digitally. I'm building
Hmm.
my house right now and with my wife and it's her company. She's women owned and all that. So we went through all that certification. And but I'm a builder and I
Yeah.
I always like saying, "Hey, I built that." Just like I do with the magazine every month. And
Well, I think you take with you those experiences that you learned when you were younger, right? And that's what's super important. And I think that we're in a different time of life right now, or in our world, that it people don't necessarily start out that way anymore, where
yeah,
you're in the trenches and learn it and have a real respect for what you're doing. So I think coming from somebody who, came from a family that was in construction and valued, making sure that things were recycled, it's really, really important. And I think, this day and age now, you're seeing, at least I'm sitting here. I mean, the sun is out, it's 40 degrees, but 3 days ago, I was sitting on the beach and it was, 74 degrees.
yeah,
So,
absolutely.
it's all related. And as much as we don't want to talk about that, I think that if everybody has a little bit of something that they could do to help with that, I think it's important and it makes a difference. So if it's a
Hey,
choice in sustainable graphics versus non-sustainable graphics, why wouldn't you choose it?
yeah. Listen, I went on my own right after 9/11, and everybody told me not to do it, including my parents. And I left Nielsen December 17th, 2001, and I haven't looked back since. No better time than the present. You don't want to let any of the poo-pooer, the doggy downers telling you that you can't do it. So, the roller coaster started, and you were there, and you said, "Hey, man, let's just rock and roll." And here you are. You're still standing today. So congratulations.
Thank you.
And but being a diver, uh, I went to prep school and we were a major powerhouse in swimming, and it's called the Petty School. And anyway, so I know what what divers, doesn't matter if you're male or female. The bottom line is you got to practice, you got to execute, you got to have confidence in yourself, and all of that rubs off. Believe it. And I like talking to athletes, so I'm glad you told me you were a diver and your kids play sports and all that. Because anybody that plays sports, there's no I in team, but you can have your individual flair, but you can still be a team player. But the bottom line is you need people to get things done, and you can't do everything yourself. And all of that I've kind of, with all the things that I've done over the years, just like you kind of mold it and you put it into, I knew how I wanted to run my publishing company, looking from coming from big corporate guy. They bought our small publishing company, and that honeymoon lasted about 18 months. And then 9/11 happened, and then I had to make a decision. But when I look back at all the things that I learned when I started, I was like, this is the way that I would like to run my company. It's not me, it's we. You don't work for me, you work with me. And uh and it's not, I can't. How am I going to get that done?
Right.
Can't, it's just not in my vocabulary. So do you win all the time? No. And I don't even use the word lose in my vocabulary. It's learn. You either win or you learn.
Right.
Lose, not getting a job. I'm very glad you said that you don't want to bite off more than you can chew as far as, with clients. If you can't help someone, I mean, I tell people all the time, look, if you want to run an ad in the magazine, you're going to get leads. But if you don't have someone to follow up on the leads, don't spend the money with me because you're just going to waste it. I'd
Right.
rather, it's not that I didn't produce. It's like going, you get a good gym membership and New Year's Eve as your resolution, and then you don't do anything with it. You don't take action. You've got to build yourself up so you can go do all those things. So I appreciate anybody that was an athlete that's made the transition to the business
Well,
field.
I mean, let me correct you. I said I was a diver. I didn't say I was an athlete.
No, no. Listen, like I said, I saw the swimmers. Okay,
Listen, in
I know what
fairness,
divers and swimmers. I know what those guys went through. And like I said, it was a powerhouse. Some of these guys were on the Olympic team, and then I look back and, but divers, it's intricate. You got to practice. You got to be in shape. You got to be able to do all that. What was your favorite dive? Jackknife?
I mean, probably the pike I liked.
Right.
No,
See,
I
there you
think,
go. So, like
yeah,
I said, you perfected that thing over and over and over, and just little
yep,
variances can separate you from being in first place to third or not placing at all. So, but all of those things, being precise, knowing when just everything you have to do to prepare yourself for a meet, that is the same thing you need to go out into the business. The only difference between playing sports and being in business is much more vicious. It's so competitive, and some of the people aren't nice out there. And you got to have thick skin to do business. And when I started my magazine, I had X amount of females that were in the industry, but now I look back at my circulation. Shoot, it's almost about 50-50, with women in construction, and every day it gets better. I never understood why men were designing retail stores when women were shopping in there, and they know what the dressing rooms want to look like. They know how the aisles or the fixtures should be. So I kind of one day a lady said, "Why don't you have more women on the cover?" I said, "I don't know. I just, you want to be on the cover, we'll put you on the cover." So then I took a look and I was like, wow, it's about 60, 65, 35. That was back in 2001, about, what the percentages were from men to men to female. And then as time went on, it's almost even, but I think there's more female than there are men, in the sector, depending on what,
yeah,
where you are.
yep.
So, but, you know,
Yeah, but I think growing up, right? I mean, at least that I think we're in the same generation. Like, you knew you are you going to be, a doctor? Are you going to be? I mean, are you going to be a librarian? Are you going to be a teacher? Are you going to be, what? You didn't really think bigger than what you were told that this is what you're going to be doing. And as a young woman, I was never told no by my parents, but you knew that maybe the industries that you probably would be better at, or according to what you were taught, than others. And I think that has changed. I think social media has allowed this generation to see that there's so much more out there for anyone to be anything. And there's no there. Yes, there is a glass ceiling, and sometimes it's still there. um, but I think more and more people are seeing, like, listen, I can do this. Even if you tell me I can't do it, it makes me want to do it even more. So I think those times have changed, that maybe the reason was we were never taught that, we could be a builder, or an architect or whatever it is. So a lot of that has changed now. And I'm seeing it in our industry and in aviation itself, the encouragement of being mentors to young women and bringing, whether it's a pilot or it's a mechanic or it's somebody who works in, the advertising or concessions or whatever it might be in an airport, that profile is definitely changing.
Yeah, my son, he went to mechanic school, and there were several females that were in his class,
Yeah.
and he was at Boeing for 3 years, and now he's down in Dallas at a place called FlexJet, and there's some females that are in his, with the company. I think there's one female tech that's in there. Yeah, I don't think she's on his shift, but uh, just in general, he wanted to work with his hands. So I'm all about. Look, if you're 18, you graduate high school and you don't know what you're going to do, I just tell people go in the military, right? Because you get 3 square meals a day. You're going
Yeah.
to learn, you're going to build your character, you're going to learn leadership, you're going to learn all that stuff. And then when you get out, there are a ton of companies that are going to look for people that have put their time in, their vets, and they understand that you take orders, you get things done, you know about deadlines and execution, and so but like myself, I went to college to play hockey. I was, that's what I was. I was a hockey lacrosse player. Actually, I ended up being a better lacrosse player, but tore my knee up. My hockey career went over. I did my retail stint at Levitt's way back when. My parents were an upholstery
Oh my goodness, love it.
manufacturing. Yeah, Levitt's Furniture. Gary Levitt's and my dad were both pilots. They were buds, and so anyway, I went in and I put more of those little brass tables together that were loss leaders way in the back. I merchandised. I was a picker. I scotch guarded. I unloaded trucks. But then when it came time in the mid 80s for me to go, move to Hickory, where there was one hotel and one restaurant, and the recession was kind of in, 18% interest rates, for a house. A lot of people weren't buying, upholstery. And I was like, I don't think this is my bag. And I gave up away all the businesses and kind of did my own thing. But everything that I did, even when I was in the construction, my cousins are around the company, it's still there. And but all those things that I learned, as well as within my athletic career, I kind of applied it. And I battle every day. That's what it is. I just look at it as but I always have this saying, champions believe in themselves when no one else does. And you gotta be, to be an entrepreneur, you have to have that attitude of, you can do it. You got to believe in yourself, and that making mistakes is not a bad thing, but having a positive mindset and rolling with the punches. So
Yeah.
it sounds exactly like your story.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you on, all the experiences that you have bring you to where you are now. And, going back to my children, or young adults, I should say, as they're navigating this thing called life, you try and just be there to say, it's okay that you don't know what you want to do. Just stay on a path. Whatever that path is, you just got to keep moving it forward. Because where I started wasn't where I ended up in a career, but all of what I learned on this journey, I've been able to apply to my company and now to the people that are joining my company. So all of the life experience is important, and your family. And when you talk about having somebody believe in yourself, I mean, I've been very fortunate that I have a family that was very much behind me, encouraging me to do this, and that's important. I think you can have a lot of naysayers, and I block the noise out. And somebody tells me no, it makes me even more driven to try and figure out to get how I'm going to get to yes, right, and prove them wrong. So yeah, it's been quite the journey. It's I wouldn't say that it's been easy, but I never thought
Oh, it's
anybody.
never easy,
It's never easy. And, you go into it thinking, you've had this experience and you've supported these larger companies for many years and proven yourself. But that doesn't necessarily mean you go off on your own. They're going to be like, we're going with you. You really have to take the time to prove to them that what you're doing is going to be of value to them. And that takes time, and cutting through all of that. We used to use them, or we use them, how, all of that red tape it takes a while to get through, but we're making our way. And yeah, we're pleased where we are. And
So talk
2025 is.
talk a little about you know March 2020. Here we are, almost at the end of 2024. Uh, Talk about some, how you weathered the storm over the last 4 years, and maybe some lessons learned that our listeners out there in Commercial Construction Coffee Talk would like to hear from an entrepreneur, women-owned, business.
Well, I mean, I think weathering the storm, I think for everybody, I think it was, having a global pandemic, everyone had to figure out how to weather whatever their storm was, right? Not specific to me, but whatever they were doing and what's it going to look like, whether it was working from home or changing careers, managing a family. I mean, we had people that were teaching their children at home that are not teachers. It was a whole new world. And I think the storm that I've weathered, it continues to be still a little bit stormy. But you welcome those challenges, right? And that you're going to take it head on, and you figure out what the next pathway is. The challenges are always, I think I mentioned it before, for us is always, being a new business and trying to get someone to trust that you can deliver what they need, and give us an opportunity. That's all we ask. So that's probably been the biggest challenge, weathering our storm. Like I said, we used it to our benefit, to be honest. When we laid the foundation for K&R, it took us, we needed to vet our partners, and finding out where all the installers were going to be, and where they were, where their home offices are, and as it relates to who we are, and how accessible that was going to be for our clients. And then if we weren't going to print on fabric, which is at our facility in Utah, who are our partners that are going to be able to help us execute these projects with the understanding that there was a sustainable message here. So being able to get on conference calls and meet different vendors and different printers, and allowed us to say, here's our pool of people. What do those profiles look like, and how can they add value to K&R? and will they be a good partner to us, right? So, yes, it was stormy, but we used that to our advantage to say, we're going to really make sure that we are ready to go and press go when our first phone call comes, or the first yes comes and says, let's print something.
Yeah,
So,
let's do it. Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. That's the best. Hey, listen, I remember when I left Nielsen, I offered to buy the magazine. They weren't going to sell it to me. And I said, look, I'm going down to Texas. I'm meeting Radio Shack and a bunch of other brands on my road trip. When I come back, I got to make a decision. And they thought I was bluffing. I came back. Are you going to sell me my magazine? No. And I resigned. And, and when I launched my show the next year, they wrote a check to have a booth at my show. That was the most I still have a copy of it. I took a picture of it. I got framed. It was the most amazing thing. I was like, oh my God, why did they do what they do? And here they are giving me money.
Right.
It was uncomprehendable. But I think doing the agency gig was probably one of the best things that you did. But listen, I'm a parent. I know that is a serious job bringing up kids, and that was probably the most amazing experiences that you had to get, go into business because people don't realize, it is, listen, I have one kid. I can't imagine having anybody has more than one child. I give them credit because, I got four dogs, but, we're rescuers, but it's I give people credit that have more than one child. If I had to do it
Yeah.
over, I would have had more, my wife and I said, look, you can't go out of diapers and go back into them. You
Right.
got to stay into it and then, make the transition. So,
Yeah, I
and
mean, I think it's definitely the hardest job I've ever had, and that it will continue to be. So when you say you own a company and you work full time, you work full time as a mom too. Like, and even though my kids aren't really living at home with me now, it's still a full time job, much different than it was when they were young. They required a lot more, just because of their ages. And more involvement of whether I was, going to be the mystery reader, or I was running the, picture day at school, or
yeah,
whatever,
sure.
standing in the cafeteria, whatever it was, to be involved and make sure that your kids knew that you were present in their lives was super important to me. But it comes with a sacrifice, right? You sacrifice having that corporate paycheck where they're putting money into a 401k. So when you fast forward to, the golden years, as they call the golden years, you look at your 401k, and it's not as, robust as you had hoped it would be, but you look at that and you say, but look at the amazing kids I have,
Yeah.
I would never trade that. And it for sure is the hardest job I've ever had, and still continues to be the hardest job.
So
And
none of your kids, do they want to come in and work with you?
I actually, my oldest daughter, the one that lives in Philly, is head right now of our design group, and does a lot of the design works for the digital ads and the static graphics. And we have excuse me, a security graphics division, and she designs a lot of security graphics for them, for
That's
our company.
awesome.
So she does. My son is in construction. Actually, he works for a residential builder around here. And he loves that. He wanted to get his hands dirty and learn every craft and he possibly could. Um, and my youngest is just graduated the community college, and she has applied to some schools locally here, University of Rhode Island, being her top choice. So it's all good, but again, it's that job. And I look back at COVID, and when we talked about the challenges during it, I can't imagine having those young kids at that age and being a mom, staying home and trying to have a career, and you actually teaching your children. So kudos to those moms, right? That job just got a million times harder.
Oh yeah. Hey, when my son was going through there, we're federal contractors too. And I told my son, I said, look, if you want to turn wrenches on the tarmac, that's cool. But you can take over the federal contracting company and, be a millionaire and do federal stuff and where you're still going to be working with your hands but I was glad that, he did he just left. He's got to work over Thanksgiving and triple time. He wants the money. And so he came up early. He just went back to Dallas last night, and it was good to see him for a couple of days. And um, we're proud of him. Yeah, I didn't know what he didn't know what he wanted to do. And but he always was working with his hands. First, he was going to be an auto tech, then he was going to be a motorcycle guy, and then we took the aviation tour, and they had about 20 schools around the country, and that was any welding, sheet metal, avionics, jet engines, all that stuff. Graduated, and then the rest is history. But it, I'm all about skilled labor. There's a shortage out there. So right?
Yeah, well, I was just, of course, on TikTok. I was, so I don't know how factual this actually is, but I watched something that had said the latest billionaires in our country are all tradesmen,
Yeah. Oh
whether
yeah,
they're
absolutely.
mechanics or they're plumbers or they're electricians. The latest 50 billionaires in our country this year are trade.
Yeah. No, he in his senior year, he's going to senior year, and he didn't have the mathematics skills or scores, grades, call it whatever you want, to get into the shop class. And we had a meeting at the high school, and I said, "Look, my kid's not interested in history. He's not interested in English. He wants to work with
Right.
his hands. If
Right.
there's one kid out of the 3,000 people that go to this dump high school, um, you know, this is the kid that you want to put in there." So they wouldn't put him in there. So I yanked him out. We homeschooled him for his senior year. Still with his friends, still played lacrosse and all that stuff. But
Yep.
homeschooled, he worked in the local garage, he waited tables, and then got his diploma, and then, got into, the aviation school. It was a 2-year program. And um, uh, it was bizarre. He got his job at Delta, and his first day there, a recruiter called him and said, "Hey, Boeing needs 9,000 people, and we'll pay you 4 or 5 times what Delta is." And so he called me up. He said, "Dad, I just had a recruiter call me. They want me to move to Charleston. What should I do?" I said, "Well, what'd your boss say down there?" He said, "Well, get the hell out of here." Well, there you go. So he came home, and like a week later, my wife went and got him settled over in Charleston, and so you just, you never know. And but
Well, and it goes back to support, right? We talked about having family support and making sure that you keep people on a path, whatever the path is. It doesn't have to be what you're doing. It doesn't have to be what I'm doing, but whatever it is, you just got to keep moving it forward, and they'll figure it out.
he used to ask me, "Hey, Dad, man, when I go to, I can take over your company, right?" And I'm like, "No, you got to go out. You got to go work for someone else and get fired a couple times before you even
Right.
work for me." Plus, I coached them all through lacrosse and taekwondo and roller hockey, and I mean, I just did. I wasn't I forget what the term.
Helicopter dad.
Yeah, exactly. No, I treated him. I treated him like crap. I mean, I just, I didn't take any, because he was my son. I made sure that he had thick skin, because I knew that eventually what he was going to figure out what he was going to do, and I wanted to make sure my job as a father is to make sure that when he gets out of the nest, that he can make it out there in the real world.
Yep.
So, uh, but the coolest thing was I had him on my podcast last year, and I thought he was gonna tell me this 20 years from now. But he said, "Hey, you know what? If you weren't as hard on me as you would, I would have never gotten hired here at Boeing." And my wife and I, we played good cop, bad cop with him and stuff. But I was definitely hard on him. I didn't, um, but I taught him, how it feels to win, how it feels to lose, be early, don't be late, finish what you start. Try to install all of those things that kind of I had learned over, whatever I had done over the years. And
Yep.
uh and it was really, really cool that on the podcast he goes, "Hey, but I thought I was going to hear it 20 years from now, and here was just a couple." And I was like, "Wow, awesome."
You did something right.
Yeah, absolutely. So
That's awesome.
it, if you're out there and you're a brand, or you're running an airport, or you're at a hotel, or you need graphics, or if someone wanted to reach out to you, how would they do that? To talk about, you know,
Well, you can visit our website, krsolutionsgroup.com. You can look me up on LinkedIn. You can email me, Karen at krsolutionsgroup.com. Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn, our website. My
spell your
email,
last name correctly for everybody. So if they look
it's
you up on LinkedIn, they can find you on the search bar.
okay, it's Karen Fiorentino, and that's Fiorentino.
There you go. So
Yes.
So if you're out there and you're thinking about it, hey, maybe you're a diver too, and you just want to talk about pike form or whatever, uh, call Karen, and you can have a conversation, and you never know where your next opportunity is going to come from. And
For sure.
just networking and having conversations is the best way, I think, to do things these days. And uh, you know,
Well, there's proof
great.
of that, our friend Gina, right? Having a
Yeah,
conversation
yeah, yeah,
with
yeah,
our girl Gina.
absolutely.
And so that is
Yeah,
proof. So
yeah,
I appreciate it.
absolutely. Absolutely. So, as we finish up, if there was one positive thought or phrase that you'd like to leave with our listeners, what would it be?
I mean, you hear it all the time, but I say it all the time. It's just never give up. You can get a lot of doors shut. You just got to figure out how you're going to kick it open and keep going. Just because they say no, I always say that means maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, listen, you got to know that's just not one way that you don't know how to say yes. You might have to get 10 no's before you get a yes. I
That's
mean,
right.
yeah,
Yep.
getting no doesn't mean anything to me. It's just like, oh, well, I took a shot but didn't score, but that doesn't stop me from taking shots. So,
That's right.
you know,
Well, and I think the other thing I always leave with my kids with is just to be kind because you know what, kindness matters, and we can use a lot of kindness in this world. So that gets you far too.
yeah, yeah. I have 6 weeks to go. I've been running 5 to 7 miles a day uh, since the beginning of the year, and I do a little video every day, just kind of clear my mind. But I always do a positive thought. And yesterday, I said my saying was outwork everyone. Doesn't matter. Outwork everyone. And it just, little things they kind of hit you. I tell people, hey, put that in your knowledge vault, use it for a rainy day when you need it. And just some of the things, but everything that I've left people this year, uh, I know that they can use them. And depending on what the situation might be. But you're saying is never give up. Oh my God, you never give up. It's just you got to play until the buzzer sounds. Leave it
That's
all
right.
out in the field or leave it in the pool, not on the diving board. And it hard work pays off.
For
And
sure.
also it's all statistics. The more people you contact, the more people you're going to meet, the more opportunity you're going to have. So as an
For sure.
entrepreneur, no one's picking up. You got to push yourself. No one's
Right.
going to do it for you. And
Right.
you'd be amazed, just like yourself. Over the last 4 years, I've talked to a lot of people, and so many of them have said that they've had the best years over the last couple of years. That they've learned, hey, there's more than life than work. Be uh, that you learned a lot about your company and how you want to operate it, and streamline things, and then uh, that they would have taken on more business, but they didn't have supers or project managers and that kind of stuff. And you don't want to take on more because if you don't deliver, you know how retail is. Word gets out there quick. It's a big, small world. Everybody knows
Right.
everybody. So it
It's a big, small world. That is true.
yeah, exactly. So but you'd be amazed at how many people have said I always like turning, negatives into positives. So, when I talk to people, like I said, over the last 3 or 4 years, so many people said, hey, no one knew what was going to happen, how long it was going to be, and it depended on what state you were in, was going to affect your project with the regulations but so many people said if yeah, I didn't go through that, I don't even know if I would be where I'd be today.
I agree
So
with that.
yeah,
I honestly believe, like I said, I registered the company in 2019 just out of, a client said, You'd be good at that. And I was like, okay, well, I'll sign the paper and put it over here. And I don't know that I ever, maybe, but I don't know that I would ever have had the courage to just go out on my own and do it. I think it took, you know, a pandemic to force my hand
well,
at
my
it.
parents told me not to quit, Neil. They were like, "You've got an expense account. Nielsen's like you could retire here." My
Yeah.
and you know,
What fun is that? What
well, you
fun
know
is
what happened the year when they bought our publishing company. Uh, I had just launched this magazine, so I was tied to a show, but that was the same year my son was born. So I looked at my magazine like my kid. And then I felt like my kid was getting beaten up. So someone had to stand up for it. That's what parents do. I don't
that?
like getting involved, but you have to stick your nose in there sometimes and, just, to protect your children. And so that's what I kind of treated my magazine. And I was like, look, man, you guys have the wrong budget and there's a bean counter system and I know I can do this and I knew how I wanted to run it. And they thought I was bluffing. Like I said, and no better time than the present uh, to start something new. And even if you're trying, like I said yesterday on my video, I'm like, look, New Year's resolutions are coming up. You don't have to wait for New Year's. You want to improve yourself tomorrow, business, personal athletics, whatever it might be. Do it tomorrow. Just
Right.
little bits. They all add up at the end of the year. And not every day is going to be great. Some days are going to be better than others, but
Right. I
Yeah.
agree. And you know what I always say, wake up with gratitude. Whether you wake up with some type of gratitude, then your day typically goes okay. You're not going to always have a great day, but if you take a moment to be grateful, I think that's important.
So if you're out there, give Karen a call, have a conversation, and you can talk graphics, install, project management, all that kind of stuff that goes into her world. And I'm sure you'll have a good conversation. And listen, you can, if you're a swimmer, hey, talk to a diver. Hey, there you
Why
go.
not?
Yeah. So as we finish up, a couple things I want to wrap up with. Number one, if you're on the construction site, we want you to be safe. All right. We want you to get home, be able to have dinner with your spouse, your partner, your wife, your kids, your pets, whatever it might be. Have some fun, get some REM sleep, and be able to go do it the next day. Number two, even though old man winter's coming, listen, you got to stay hydrated. That's the athlete in me. When you get dehydrated, you get headaches. When you get headaches, you get hurt on the athletic field. Same thing on the construction site. You don't keep yourself liquefied. Put some of those electrolytes in your water bottle or your canteen, whatever you're drinking out of. Make sure that you stay liquefied. Number one, you're gonna have a much better day. But number two, you're gonna sleep better, and you'll be able to get up and do it again. The next day. And last but not least, hit the like button so people can find the algorithms and find this episode so Karen can be out there on the web and have some conversations. So any last final thoughts before we sign off?
I mean, just thank you. That I'm thrilled to sit and talk with you. I think like you said, it's a big, small world, and I appreciate that you took the time to bring me on here. And it's important to get the news out there that there are other people out there doing things that were being done for many, many years in one way, but there might be a new way to do it. So why not open your mind to new things?
Hey, listen, I didn't, I normally say, I always tell people, hey, look, send me press releases. I'm a content creator. We post all day and this and that. But Karen got on because one of my good friends I've known forever in the industry sent me an email and said, "Hey, here's one of my good friends," and told me your story. I was like, "Oh yeah, well, love." So I made the introduction. Boom, boom. Here she is. So
Right. It
you
was
never know when those
very
emails.
easy.
And I tell you people all the time, I read everything. It could be an anniversary, it could be this. Send it to me. I'm going to look at it, and if I like it, I'm going to do something. I'm going to take action. All right. So, and,
Awesome.
that. So, like I said, here she is. Boom. It's just a little email. Boom. Here she is.
Here
Voila.
I am.
So.
Although
Well,
in fairness, you did want to do it yesterday, and
oh
we
yeah,
had
I
to
always
wait a
push
day.
people. I always like, hey, listen, people always say, oh, something came out. I know I want to get people on the schedule because I mean, believe me, it's crazy. When the shutdown happened, I just bought my microphone. I was going to go out and do interview people on the construction site, and then everything got shut down, and so I was like, okay, I'm just going to wing it. So I just started doing, one a day, and I just kept going, and I was awful. I was awful. I'm still awful. I get,
No, you are not. This has
I
been
laugh at
great.
myself. People laugh, but I
You
was
make it
really,
easy.
yeah. But I just laugh at myself,
Well, if you
but
can't laugh at yourself, right?
yeah, yeah. So, but it's funny though because uh, I probably have 1,000 videos up there from all the events that we did over the years. I don't know, probably a couple hundred podcasts, and but you know, I look back where I was in March of 2020 and where I am today. I've changed my background. I'll have to do it next year too. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'll just figure it out and wing it.
Well, I know a signage person, so let me know if you need some
You
help.
know, a signage person. Oh my God, there we go. Yeah.
Yep.
So, but anyway, you're an entrepreneur. Congratulations on
Thank
your
you.
company and where you're going. And I think there's big things ahead of you. And kudos to you. So, uh,
Thank you, David.
with that, to everybody out there in commercial construction coffee talk, listen, you got Thanksgiving coming up in a couple of weeks, and you got the month of December. You got Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, Festivus for all you Seinfeld people out there, and then Christmas and New Year's, and before you know it's gonna be 2025. So remember, finish the year off strong with momentum, and then you know keep that momentum going into 2025. And there's definitely some exciting times ahead. There might be some rough waters as well, but you got to go one day at a time. And just like you play one game at a time and give it your all, leave it all in the field. So when you look yourself in the mirror at night, you know you did the best you could and have fun and stay positive. So, Karen, say goodbye from Rhode Island.
Goodbye from Rhode Island.
And I'm going to sign off from Sugar Hill, just below the Buford Dam on Lake Lanier, about 25 miles north of downtown ATL. And we will see you next time on another episode of Commercial Construction Coffee Talk. If I come up to Rhode Island, I want to see, Eric, you got to take me to one of the airports so I can see what you're doing there and stuff. All right?
We'll
Deal?
take you to an airport, and then we'll take you to the best restaurant around.
Woohoo! I love food.
I
I'm
love
there.
it.
Yeah. All right,
Perfect.
everybody. We will see you later and have a great rest of the week. See you, Karen. Pleasure. All right.
Thank you.
You bet. Bye bye.
Bye.